Johannesburg, African leaders were embarrassed by Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe and already encouraging him to step down before the army began moves last week to oust him, according to a secret Zimbabwean intelligence cable seen by Reuters. The cable, dated October 23 and written by someone within the Central Intelligence Organization, CIO, to an unknown recipient, also says Mugabe spoke to South African President Jacob Zuma about his rivalry with Emmerson Mnangagwa, the vice president whose sacking by Mugabe prompted the army action. The 93-year-old president stepped down on Tuesday, the Speaker of Parliament said, in the middle of impeachment proceedings from his own ZANU-PF party and after a week of pressure from the military and crowds which thronged the capital at the weekend. Two party officials said Mnangagwa would take his place. The cable, one of a series seen by Reuters this year which give a detailed, insider's view of Zimbabwean politics, described intelligence officials warning Mugabe he would face fierce resistance from the military if Mnangagwa was removed. First seen by Reuters before the army intervened, it said the 16-country Southern African Development Community, SADC, led by Zuma was pressuring Mugabe to resign and Zuma had suggested offering him a senior African Union role to ease him out. Zuma's spokesman, Bonganini Kilanga, dismissed the account as completely untrue and scandalous. President Jacob Zuma did not communicate with President Mugabe about former Vice President Mnangagwa at all about the issues you mention. Regional support allowed Mugabe to overcome an election setback in 2008 and could have held the key to his future as leader this time round. SADC leaders met on Tuesday to discuss the crisis in Zimbabwe. Zuma and his Angolan counterpart, João Lourenço, were set to travel to Harare on Wednesday. All SADC leaders and African leaders want Mugabe to retire. Mugabe is seen as an embarrassment to the whole African continent, the document said. A Zambian government source said Zuma, at the SADC meeting in Luanda, floated the idea of an opposition for Mugabe, although the consensus was that he was too old. Grand Old Man Reuters was not able to verify the assertion of widespread African opposition to Mugabe in the October 23 cable, which contrasts with his image as the respected Grand Old Man of African politics. Botswana President Ian Khama is the only African leader to have openly called for him to step down. Khama told Reuters on Friday Mugabe should go and allow for an opportunity to put Zimbabwe on a path to peace and prosperity. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, a longtime strongman leader like Mugabe, condemned the de facto seizure of power by the army, which put troops on the streets of Harare and took over the state broadcaster. Uganda, which is not in the SADC, reiterated its support for Mugabe on Tuesday. Mugabe is one person who couldn't care what the West thought. He spoke out for Africans' rights, Pan-Africanism, said Okolo Oryem, Uganda's State Minister for Foreign Affairs. SADC and the African Union, have avoided characterizing last week's intervention by the military as a coup, a definition that would carry diplomatic consequences.